here today for this faculty development program. It's wonderful to see so many dedicated educators gathered here to engage in enriching discussion, learning, and sharing knowledge. Myself, Bhakya Lakshmi, Assistant Professor, PG Department of Commerce, and it's my pleasure to host the today's session. Prayer is the lifting of the heart to heaven. To begin this session with prayer, now I call upon S. Santosh Kumar, Assistant Professor, PG Department of Commerce, to lead us in prayer.
An opportunity to grow. Heavenly Father, we come before you with gratitude as we begin the faculty development program. Thank you for the gift of knowledge, the passion to teach, and opportunity to grow. We seek your guidance in all that we do. Bless our founder, Reverend Father Dr. J. Arulaj, Priya, my sisters, Emma, my colleagues, staff, all of us. Bless each faculty members gathered here that we may inspire to nature and guide our students with wisdom, patience, and compassion. May this program be a time of learning, collaboration, and renewal. Fill us with your grace. We may instruments of positive change in our institution and society. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Now I call upon Ms. J. Madhumita, Assistant Professor, PG Department of Commerce, to share the details about our college.
Good afternoon, all. St. Joseph College, Arts and Science is a co-educational Christian institution run by the Management of Society for Education for Life. This college has been established in 1994 and has been taken over by Reverend Father Dr. J. Arulraj, OMI, and managed by DMI Sisters from 2004. This college is approved by Government of Tamil Nadu, affiliated to University of Madras, aggregated by NAC with Grade A. Two-year status of UGC Act 1956 and ISO 21001 2018 certified institution. DMI is known for its time honorable tradition of imparting quality education to the society and rendering social service without discrimination. Reverend Father Dr. J.E. Arulraj is the founder and chairman of the college. He is ably supported by Reverend Sister S. Lalita, Superior General, and Reverend Sister S. Gnanaselvam, Managing Trustee of the Society. The vision of the college is to provide a disciplined life with a spiritual base to remain fully alive and fully human. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. As we are about to start this faculty development program, now I call upon Ms. F. Joel Preeti, Assistant Professor, PG Department of Commerce, to give welcome address.
Good afternoon to everyone. This is Joel Priti, Assistant Professor, PG Department of Commerce. Feels happy to present welcome speech. A warm welcome to all present here. It gives immense pleasure to welcome our humble Reverend Sister Dr. M. Baby, Administrator. We welcome you, Sister, and welcoming our energetic Principal Dr. R. Ruben. We welcome you, Sir, on behalf of our management and PG Department of Commerce, along with IQAC and IIC. We welcome you all. It gives immense pleasure to welcome our section resource person, Dr. L. Kanagalakshmi of the day. We welcome you, ma'am. Now I welcome all the faculties, resource scholars, and students present for today's section. We welcome you all. I'm sure that this section will enlighten us all and hope this section will provide you to gain adequate knowledge. Once again, I warmly welcome everyone.
Thank you, ma'am, for welcoming all. Next, move on to here to gain the thirst of wisdom. Now I call upon Dr. R. Venkataswamy, Assistant Professor, PG Department of Commerce, to provide the resource person introduction, followed by handing over the session.
Good afternoon, all. Myself, Dr. R. Venkataswamy, Assistant Professor, PG Department of Commerce. It is my absolute honor to introduce our estimate research persons for today's session, Dr. L. Nangalachimi ma'am. Has made remarkable achievement in the research field. Currently, she is working as assistant professor, Department of Management Studies, University of Madras in Chennai. She qualified the UGC NET exam in 1998. She awarded with a Thames Foundation Scholarship for BDF Hungary in 2017 and 18. Her paper selected as her best paper in state level seminar on knowledge management. She has instrumental in the teaching and research experience for 22 years. She had published two books with the ISP number, and she also edited 35 books chapters with ISP number. She had participated more on publications papers, UGC Care and Scope Plus, and attend the more than 100 national and international conference, seminars, and workshops. She marked also as a research person for more 15 conferences and seminar and private guest lecture. She also acting as a coordinator for Student Social Responsibility Club at University of Madras. Additional in charge as assistant professors in UGC, HREC, University of Madras, and a coordinator for EBSP Club, University of Madras. She has been a leading forcing in shaping big three research scholar as three scholars have completed their research and two scholars work pursuing the research and one scholar had successfully submitted the thesis. She also undertook various major and minor research projects sponsored by national and international agencies like UGC UPT Base Second. ICS are major project and Russia project. We are truly privileged to welcome you, ma'am. Please join me in welcoming Dr. L. Nangalakshmi, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am. And I am hand over the session to the resource person.
So thank you for your great words, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ah. So respected organizing committee members of the FDP, convener Dr. Porchelian, sir, head of the department, co-convener Dr. Valarmati and Dr. Rukmani, and my dear friend Dr. Venkataswamy, and dear participants of the FDP, good evening to all of you. Uh, And I like to thank the authorities and head of the department and Dr. Venkataswamy sir to providing me the opportunity to present the useful topic to this academic community. So today my topic deals with the data creation and how data can be used in research. First of all, I like to say, sir, I have to share my presentation. Sir, sir, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm sharing my presentation first.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Sir, my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So we all know how important is data now. As far as in data analytics or in artificial intelligence, today you can see the data is very significant anywhere, whether it is business, whether it is law, any of the field, the data is very important. So according to Strategia, it is seen that total volume of data was 64 point zettabytes in 2020 and it is predicted to reach 181 zettabytes in now, that is in 2025. So we must learn how do you ensure the data. So how the relevant data, how we have to use, and important, which is important to the business or research problem, which we have need to solve our give solutions to our problems. After all, a data-driven decision is only as strong as the it's based on. So one way to make ensure is to collect the data by yourself. Then coming to my point, so what is data? How to analyze data? What is data? Your data is nothing but a set of values of qualitative and quantitative variables of one or more persons or objects. So we will discuss about the qualitative and quantitative later. And data is nothing but a systematic record of a particular quantity. So it is different values of the quantity represented together in a set. It is a collection of facts and figures to be used for a specific purpose, such as a survey or analysis. So when you use the data in an organized form, it is called information. So in simple words, we can say that data is nothing but round one. When you process the data using some statistical and some scientific process, so it will give you the information. Then it is called the data is processed. Then it is called as information. So actually, what are the sources of data? So when you see the sources of data, so you can categorize them into primary data and secondary data. So actually, when the process of data collection begins, so you can have before going into how to collect the data. So I want to ensure to this codes in your mind, register in your minds. So you can have the data without information. So, but you cannot have information without data. So the data is the base one. So only if you have the data, it can be processed and it will give you the information. So when the task of data collection begins, so when you design the problem, after you formulate the problem, after you chalk out the problem, so your task of data collection begins. So while deciding about the method of collecting the data, the researcher should keep in mind two types, that is the primary and secondary data. So we all know in our research, the primary data is a fresh and it is a first-hand information, and it will be in virginal in character. But in the other hand, the secondary data, or which was collected by someone else and which have already been passed through some statistical process. You know the say sources of secondary data. So through some magazines, websites, and some association might have collected already that data, and you can use the data for your research purpose. So the researcher would have to decide which sort of data you would be using for your study, and based on that you have to select one or the other method of data collection. So the methods of collecting primary and secondary data differ, since the primary data are to be virginally collected, while in case of secondary data, the nature of data collection work is merely that of compilation. So we describe the different methods of data collection with pros and cons of each method. So coming to the qualitative data. So you know what is the importance of qualitative data we have. So am I audible, sir? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what is qualitative data? So qualitative data is the data that can be arranged into categories based on physical traits, genders, colors, or anything that does not have a number associated with it. So actually, your emotions, for example, so you cannot represent in numerical figures. So if you cry, how many liters of water you have cried? So you cannot weigh it, isn't it? So it doesn't, qualitative data involves feedback, but it doesn't have no direct quantitative measures against any numerical scale. Then it is called the qualitative data. So usually the qualitative data is categorical. So in so many sociological studies, So if you apply for any proposal, so the you while doing the pilot study, it will be used very much useful for preparing the proposals for any funding agency. So before preparing the proposal, so you have to engage in some pilot study. The first-hand information about the what is about that particular theme the researchers used to collect. So in that way, so these qualitative studies will be very useful. So going to the field and using various techniques. So in the successive slides, we'll be discussing about that. So that techniques, so you will be collecting the first-hand information, what the data or information, what is happening in the field using various techniques you use to collect. So that will be very useful. So it will act as a base for your proposal. So the qualitative data, on the other hand, you can say it is categorical, and it can be used to analyze the language and to develop an understanding about the subjective perception. So how you perceive. So you may have formulated so many hypotheses about the theme, but in reality it will be different. So only if you go to the field directly and you collect the information, so you can come to the conclude that then you can understand, you will have some clarity. So what is happening, so what is the opportunity there, or what is the problem around there, and how things are going on that particular theme. So you can collect the information very easily. So the qualitative data, in the other way, you can say it describes about the characteristics. So actually, it is usually gathered from various techniques like interviews, observations, surveys, or focus group. And it is also used to categorize information based on specific attributes or properties which can be verified. So this qualitative or categorical data can be ordinal. So sometimes ordinal means it is ordered on the degree or on ranked scales. You might be in your research, you might have used the ranked scales like 5-point scale, Likert scales, or other things, or nominal. So nominal is nothing but when you demographic information. If you are using the demographic information, so it is actually it's an independent variable, all demographic informations and all. So there you will be using just the number, you will be using for the indicating the data. So the numbers will not have any other purpose, just to give the that particular what is to describe about some quantity. It doesn't the quantitative type of scaling, just a number. It gives some identity to that particular data. So the important thing is that categories must be mutually exclusive and should not overlap. So here we have some examples about the data, that is the happiness rating, the gender, pass or fail, the eye color, interviews, transcript, categories of plants, descriptive, and temperature of the home. So actually many techniques, as I already stated, so many techniques are there. So for collecting the qualitative type of data, one is observation. So observation, when you, as I told, for example, if you're um, going to study about tribals in some interior areas. So when you go to the field, so the tribals usually they in Nilgiris and all, they will live in muds. We call in a colony like thing. So when you go there, so that observation is nothing but you have to partner, live with them. You have to observe them. So what is there? How morning at what time they will get up? How they are doing the daily task? So what type of business they engage in? So what is the lifestyle? How they are dealing with the children? Who is having the voice in their family? And who is having the dominance? Whether the men is taking care of the family or the women is taking care of the family, or whether the children they are sending to the school, or what is the literacy rate, so everyone is educated or not, and what type of food they are eating in the morning, or three times they are eating and only one time they are eating. So what is the food they are having in the morning? So all these things, when you sit and observe, spend some time with them right to morning to the evening. Or some studies, no, so the people who are going, the very good experts, very eminent professor, so when the eminent researchers, when they go to the field, they lost with the lifestyle of the theme they study. So actually they forget about their memories, and they will start living with the particular, they feel happy to live with them, pass some time with them. They lost their life, and they they will spend the whole time till the end. They used to spend with that particular, as they forget about all the funding agency and study themes and all. If you hear the histories and stories of this observation or participative study things, no, so I know some of the professors or researchers, they went to the field, they lost their they lost everything, and they feel happy to spend in that particular area itself. So this is the way how the data is collected. So once you spend, it is a fact data. And also when when you do the observation, so you start speaking with them and collecting the information. So for collecting the information, so you can use the semi structured interviews. The semi structured interviews, it's another technique of collecting data from the qualitative data. It is coming under the data collection tools, so which allowing the researchers to ask information questions around a series of predetermined themes, but allowing for open-ended response. So actually, uh, when the researchers, they've opened the space for both inductive as well as the deductive reasoning in evaluation. So the structure of the questions allows the researchers to explore key themes pertaining to the underlying theory. So actually, you can ask anything. For the case studies, actually you can write the report with 10 case studies itself. So 10 uh, that is 10 tribals you can pick up, and with their interview you can bring out the report for 250 pages, because whatever they share, the messages they will share to you, know, so it is original and it is fact. So in quantitative data, you do the analysis, you apply some scientific process, and the data is you can manipulate the data as your need. But in the field, in the study, in qualitative data, so whatever they speak, so whatever they do during the interview, the other methods you collect the data is original, and you won't manipulate the data. So what sufferings, what problems they undergo in their life, and what is the incidents, what is the bitter experience they have engaged in that particular area. So they will share what type of what their interest, so how the government is treating them, so how the other community people is discriminating them, or how they whether they have how they are living with that environment, so what interest or what love they have towards the environment. So these and all are qualitative in nature, you cannot quantify these things. And through this semi-structured interviews and observation and other methods, you can easily collect all the information. So whatever I'm saying is it is through my experience. So no one, even in books also, many books also, they have mentioned just like that, an overview like a theory. But here, so what the reality we face in the field while collecting data or information for our field, I'm sharing here. So next is open-ended survey. So actually survey also very useful tools for measuring how preferences or perceptions changes over time. So different periods, for example, if you undertake a longitudinal study in ICS or funding agency and all, so the longitudinal study, so actually anyone, can you say what is longitudinal study? Audience? Audience? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
What is longitudinal study? Can you do you have any experience of applying proposal for a longitudinal study? Okay, so coming to the open-ended survey. So please think on that. So the longitudinal studies and all. So they are funding nearly 3 crore rupees, 5 crore rupees. The project rate is. So if you collaborate with other institutions and other states or all over India and you supply the proposal means, so it is very easy to avail the funding as well as so you can serve the community whatever we are taking the inputs we are taking from the community. So we are in academic and we have the expertise in research and the expertise what we have gained. So we have to use it for our society. We have to contribute to the society, giving back to the society. So for that we have to undertake some research, and as also the learning will be very much, and our profile will also enriched by that. Okay. Surveys are useful tools for assuring how preference or perception change over time or to gather information on key experience of information. So actually surveys may use ranked scales such as always, sometimes, never, or so the ranked scales, how you ranked it. So it is depend upon that particular theme, the particular item, particular variable. So you will be formulating the scale. Some scales will be agree, disagree, and like 5 point scale. Sometimes always, never, sometimes never. So based upon the statements theme, so you will be fixing the scale that describe the description of the scale will be fixed. So they are the very useful tools for not only measuring the perception, but it for behavioral change also you can very easily collect. So mostly psychological, psychometric testing and psychological use. So tools will be using this kind of survey. And this you in this type of surveys, this open-ended surveys, so you have to give space for the comments or thoughts which the space for deeper reflection it should be. So we have to give some open-ended questions which where they can let out all the feelings or emotions there. So this is all about the open-ended survey. And next techniques is participant diaries or journals. So actually, this is very, very useful. So today, using the technology also, this participant diaries can be replaced by recording the audio, by recording a video. So this can replace it using diaries or journals. So whatever they tell. So whenever we go to the field, we have to go with some paper and pen. So otherwise, we forget everything. So we speak to we spend a whole. For example, if you are spending whole day with the field with the subjects, so where the respondents. So once you do that, so you have to record. So what is happening there? What message they are sharing with you, what problems they are sharing with you. So all this has to be recorded. So this using diaries or journals. So you can use that. You can also use the concept maps to map out the themes arising consistently. So the diaries portada, it will be you can connect the points and you can bring out the picture. And the researcher has already you has a theory around the relevant themes. So you can conduct a thematic analysis to evaluate whether the described causation or the flow from the thoughts through motivations to actions is hypothesized or not. Already you had a theory, so you can validate the theory by going to the field. So you can flow, or you can formulate a map which flow from the thoughts through motivations. So, particularly in small programs where the researchers are involved in the subjective experience of participants, so asking them to keep a journal of the thoughts and experience can help to build an understanding of what is taking place, and the informations can be supported through a process of changing negative outcomes. Next is portfolio of evidence. So this portfolio of evidence are a little more robust than journals and can be used to evaluate pieces of technical work rather than just thoughts and feelings. It can be used where the work is marked and assessed, and however, when assessing the creative projects such as lesson plans and project, actually this portfolios of evidence, so it can be used in current projects like for improving your pedagogy of teaching, or seasonal agriculture, studying about the seasonal agriculture plans, or for formulating some policies for school improvement plans. So these, you don't have clear right up and right or wrong answers, but you can be carrying quality. So you can develop some thoughts or evaluate some pieces or something. These can be assessed as to whether they met a set of key criteria or whether they are workable in a given circumstances. So they are very useful records of personal or for your professional development. So next technique, as I already stated in the previous technique, so the concept mapping. Concept mapping, these are all advanced technique. So this mapping provides a visual presentation of how ideas helped by information linked together. So this is information formed from an analysis of data on this idea as reported by the informants. So this is an example where deductive reasoning can be used and where information is gathered and analyzed for patterns. So you have set of information and this can be flow by analyzing the flow. So you can determine the pattern from which way, from that pattern you can derive a tentative hypothesis, and this hypothesis can be tested, and this from this tested hypothesis, so you can bring out theories. So when the theories are built, so it can have your name, your theory also. Mr. Sindhuja, with the Ramesh, with the Venkadasamy, like the theories are going on. So concept maps are frequently used in areas of action research or participatory research and in decision making. So case studies. So you know very well what is case studies, and many of you have used case studies for your thesis preparation, for your doctoral program also. So case studies involve detailed deep dive information, so which usually focuses on a single case or smaller number of cases. So usually in sociological studies, so this kind of case studies will be used. So taking a five organization, manufacturing organization, so you bring out the case study. So what is happening, for example, in Sivagasi match fab, that crackers and all. So the Swazi is for populated with so much industries of the crackers, match factories, and printing press, all those things. And so many accidents, or the employees working there, or meeting with some so many accidents and all. So when you bring out, when you investigate those cases, hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You continue, ma'am.
Okay. So when you go and analyze, or you want um, analyze those cases, so you can gather rich and detailed information. So by going through only few organization, two three organization, you can easily find out. So what is the reasons for the accidents? Why it's continuously is happening there? The base of the accident. So each, you cannot standardize it, but the base for the continue the accidents, so you can bring out the through case studies, you can bring out very easily. So the case studies, if it is done systematically, can generate bodies of data which can in turn can be used for qualitative comparative analysis to analyze the reasons using Boolean algebra. Some of the technical scientific things also you can introduce there, and you can bring out the essence of information like Boolean algebra you can use. So the case studies can combine a range of data collection methods and points to draw a really comprehensive picture. And next, coming to the focus groups. The
Madam,
focus groups are usually conducted with 6 to 10 people, and so the focus group before during pilot studies you can use, or after for framing the questionnaire itself you can use it, because you have to identify with when you go into the field,
excuse me,
so
ma'am.
it will be in blank. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Some persons raise a hand, ma'am.
So I'm not getting it. Your voice is not clear, sir.
Some persons raising a hand, ma'am. Hand, ma'am. Raising hand. Question எதை கேட்க வராங்க போல சார்.
இல்ல எனக்கு சரியா கேட்க மாட்டேங்குதுங்க சார். ப்ளீஸ் கொஞ்சம் கிளியரா இல்ல வாய்ஸ்
கொஸ்டின் என்ன
எனக்கு.
கேட்க வராங்க மேடம்?
இல்ல சார், எனக்கு கிளியராவே இல்ல உங்க வாய்ஸ். ப்ளீஸ்
ஸ்க்ரீன்ல பாருங்க மேடம்.
இருங்க
ஹேண்ட்ஸ்
இருங்க சார். வரேன். ஒரே நிமிஷம். ஓ, questions raise their hands.
நெடுஞ்செழியன் நெடுஞ்செழியன் சார்.
Excellent, sir. Okay.
நெடுஞ்செழியன் சார். நெடுஞ்செழியன் சார். தமாமன் அஞ்சலு.
So, Nadijalan,
ஓகே.
sir. Sir, can you raise your question, please?
ஏழுமலை சார்.
You have any questions, sir? Actually, your voice is not clear. My voice is it okay, sir?
வெரி கிளியர் மேம். யுவர் வாய்ஸ் வெரி கிளியர் மேம். கிளியர்.
But for me, this end, no, there is no clarity.
ஓகே, யூ கண்டினியூ மேம். யூ கண்டினியூ மேம். I mean, continue, ma'am. Continue
Any
this.
questions? Any questions, audience, please? If you have any questions, please come out.
No, அவர் போயிட்டாங்க மேடம்.
Sir, okay. Shall I continue
Continue,
my
ma'am.
presentation?
Continue, ma'am. Continue, ma'am. You continue, ma'am.
Okay, sir. So focus group, you might have heard about the focus group before. When you go to the field, you will be left blank. So what we are going to do, like that. Suppose if you want to collect data on some agricultural or unorganized sector, agricultural workers. So you don't have any idea, just you will go to that villages and you try to connect with the leaders of that villages, and there you can bring people. So because those people know, they don't have much education and all, so those workers, so you have to bring 4 to 10 people. Actually the permitted or effective number for a focus group interview is 6 to 10 people. So you can bring 6 to 10 people. So you prepare a questionnaire like unstructured, semi-structured questionnaire, and you try to raise the questions. So when you start raising the questions, some discussions will be followed and some arguments will be there. Everything has to be recorded, and the researcher have to moderate those discussions. So discussions around particularly themes in the discussion can assist with gathering information which confirms or disapproves the theory around a specific theme. So usually when you go to the field with some base theory, you will read on that particular subject, then only you will enter into the field. But in reality, it will be different. So where you can validate your hypothesis or otherwise. So you feel there. So some more information. Actually, here the problem is going to be very different. This case is very different, and you cannot conclude or something more. You have to analyze. You will have the feeling, and it's multiple issues will be there. So those multiple issues, if you will definitely, the interest will be created in your mind to solve those multiple issues. So the group can also be used effectively in analyze the process or implementation, to advise on implementation change required to improve the particular area of study And next, coming to video and recordings, the qualitative data, so which is narrative or of discourse analysis, so can sometimes found in film records or events, recording of the interview or video diaries. So usually in previous, in some of the techniques, so it is embedded in some of the techniques, and times this form of data will be most useful. So either when the generation of its form part of the program activities by participants, or when it is easier to present in a moment than to be working with pen, paper, or screen, isn't it? So this allows researchers to revisit the key themes and case of video to make other observations about surroundings, noise levels, environment, or body language. It is you have the recordings, so you can go through continuously. So you there is no possibility of missing any information, and this information will be very much documented, and it will act as an evidence for your study. On qualitative audits. So this will be especially useful in scoping prior to project commencement, such as conducting need or gap analysis. By the way of example, a researcher has conducted researcher into what of ideal learning environment contains, and the researcher aims must be to conduct an audit treatment of schools to ascertain what improvements can be built into the outcomes of targets by school. For example, it is like categorizing cleanliness, library access rules, or the size of the room, so which could also be included in an audit. So you know what the qualitative audits. So what can be done? So where is the gap? It will be used very much useful for the gap analysis. Next, coming to the quantitative data. So you know very well the quantitative data are numerical in nature, and quantitative data, so it is very it is based on numbers, and 56% of, for example, so 56% of 18-year-old drink alcohol at least 4 times a week. Does not tell you why, when, and how. So just it gives the data, but it doesn't have any reasons or causation for the effect. Only process the data, you will get the reason why it has happened, what for has happened, when it has happened, how many times it has happened, the frequency, everything you can, when you process only, you can bring out. So actually, the quantitative data is in the form of numbers, mathematical, and statistical analysis. So actually, there are main methods of quantitative data. The techniques used to collect the data is one is survey. So usually the surveys were how to prepare the question, what is the content of the questionnaire, how the questionnaire will be designed. So these will be surveys were conducted using paper-based methods, and always sometimes it is evolved into online mediums also. Google Forms எல்லாம் நம்ம இன்னைக்கு யூஸ் பண்ணி questions collect பண்றோம். And closed, the most of the surveys will have closed-ended questions. It forms a major part of the surveys, and they are more effective in collecting the data. Normally options, the closed. We have that. We will give the options. So we will make the respondents to give reference to that particular options. So the survey includes answer options they think that are most appropriate for the particular questions. And these surveys are integral in collecting feedback from the audience, which is larger than the conventional size. A critical factor about surveys, the responses collected should be such that they be generalized into entire population without significant discrepancies. So actually, that sample, whatever you collect, you can generalize it for the population. And this, based on the time involved in the survey, so actually you can classify it into two types. One is longitudinal study, another one is cross-sectional studies. So actually in longitudinal studies, for example, a business in which the market researcher can conduct surveys from a specific time period to another. So first year, for example, if you are introducing any change, for example, you are studying the employability skills of the students for a longitudinal study. For first year, you are introducing some intervention to the students, some skilled programs you are introducing. So the what the change happened in the next year, second year. For example, the studies for 3 years or 5 years. So next year, what is the changes happened among the students? Whether the employability skills has increased, and second year, what changes has happened? Whether they have improved or not. What is the third year? So it is called the when you collect the data and do the comparative analysis, it is like you can use trend analysis and other analysis techniques for bring out the information. So these type of this is a like you are analyzing the pattern of data, how the subjects are behaving in different periods of time. So this is an example of longitudinal studies and cross-sectional studies. This is a type of observational research in which the researcher conducts surveys at a particular time period across the target sample is known as cross-sectional, different sections of sample. So you are studying and you are comparing. So actually the survey implements a questionnaire to understand the specific subject from the sample at a definite period of time. So to administer a survey to collect the quantitative data, some principles to be followed. One is fundamental levels of measurement. So what is this fundamental levels of measurement called? So actually, these levels of measurement. Okay. So actually, the classification, some classification method will be used to define how variables are measured. So for most statistical work, so there are four possible ways to measure variables. That is, one is nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. These four types of scales. So what is it? So nominal scale, as we already stated. So nominal data is nothing but numbering, just giving the numbering, some identity to the particular data. So these are the data which is classified or categorized some attribute. They may be coded as number, but the numbers has no real meaning. It doesn't have any meaning or any purpose at all. It's just label we are using. They have no default or natural order. So examples, towns of residence, color of car, male or female. So this is one of an example of a dichotomous variable. It can be take two mutually exclusive values. For example, the cricket team, football team, and other players. So they have a number 1, 2, 3 in the t-shirts, isn't it? So that doesn't mean they have any purpose at all. So இப்போ ரெண்டாம் நம்பர் போட்டால் ரெண்டு கோல் அடிக்கணும் அப்படிலாம் கிடையாது. Just it's an order. Um, just it's a number. It doesn't have any meaning at all. Ordinal data. So actually this can be put in order, but don't have any numerical. This also doesn't have any numerical meaning beyond the order. For instance, the difference between 2 and 4 is an example of Likert scale below might no be the same as difference between 2 and 5 இருக்கிறதான்னு தெரியாது. Questions responses நம்ம கோடிங்க்கு வச்சிருக்கோம். 1 means strongly disagree, 2 means disagree, 3 means indifferent, 4 means agree, 5 means. So the level of pain felt in joint rated on a scale from 0 to 10. So extremely painful, confirm. So how you have so the difference to record the difference in nominal scales you cannot record the difference, but in this ordinal data you can order, you can find out the real difference between the two levels. So for that you can use this kind of scale. So interval data. So actually these are numerical data. Here the distance for meaning. This is the meaning, but the 0 has no real meaning. It's not may say that one measurement is twice the other might not still be true if the units were, because mostly in scientific observations. So it will have a meaning. Temperature measured in centigrade, a cup of tea at 80 degrees centigrade, it's not twice as hot as one in the 40 degree. So there is difference. Now 40 degrees something different and 50 degrees different. So ratio data. These are all numerical data where the distance between 0 point will have the real meaning. With such data, it is meaningful to say that one value is twice as that. It is comparing. So after 10 years, so what is the age between two persons? So this is a ratio data, and this would be still true if the units were changed: heights, weights, salaries, ages. Someone is twice as heavy as someone else in pounds. So this will be true in kilograms. Okay. So paired data. So data pairing is nothing but before and after. So before the experiment and after the implementation of some change, introducing some change, some skill program among the students. So what will be? So before and after treatment. Such a scenario, each research subject would have a pair of measurements, and it might be that you look for a difference in this measurement to show how an improvement due to the treatment. So in the SPS of the data should be coded in two columns. Each row would have the before and after measurements for the same ANOVA test scatter plot will be suitable for this kind of data pairs. Variable. So you might be knowing what independent variable and dependent variables. The independent variable is manipulated and has the freedom to take on different values. And before going into the types of variables, so I told no some principles to be followed when you use the quantitative data. For that, how the scales have to be formulated, we have discussed. And next principle you have to follow is using different question types. So to collect quantitative data, closed-ended questions have to be used in survey. So it will be a mix of multiple question types, including multiple choice questions, semantic differential scale questions, rating scale questions. So that can be helpful in collecting the data to be analyzed. And third principle is surveying the distribution and surveying the data collection. So it is nothing but the process of building a survey along with the survey design to collect the quantitative data. The survey distribution to collect data is the other important aspect of the survey process. There are different ways of survey distribution. Some of the most commonly methods are Google form. அதுதான் நமக்கு நல்லாவே தெரியும். அப்புறம் இமெயில் அனுப்புறது. Sending a mail is mostly commonly used method, and it will be an efficient methods of survey distribution. You can collect question from it. Very easy method is Google form. உங்க டேட்டா கூட அழகா அந்த ஷீட்ல போய் இதாயிடும். So it is easily used for analysis by respondents. And now all the artificial intelligence and your chat gpt and all, it is easy to do the research. So during our period and all, it is very hard. So we'll be going to library to இந்தியாவோட இந்த டிப்புக்கும் அந்த டிப்புக்கும் ஓடி போய் ஐசிஎஸ்ஆர்ல ஃபண்ட் கிடைக்குமா, இந்த ஃபண்டிங் ஏஜென்சில ஃபண்ட் கிடைக்குமா, லைப்ரரி விசிட்ஸ்க்கு வாங்கிட்டு ஈச் லைப்ரரி யூஸ் டு விசிட். And some library they ask for முன்னாடியே register பண்ணிட்டு. So we have to visit the libraries. So we'll go there and we'll sit and we'll see the relevant researchers, whether the relevant researchers are available for our theme. So we try to relate the connectivity, bring out the connectivity with their themes and other things. It is very hard to do the research in there 2 decades before. Now it is everything is easy. தட்டுனா chat gptல எல்லாமே வந்துருது. But how much the information is authentic, we don't know. So only if you work hard, you will enjoy the happiness. If you will know so what how to deal with the problems when you stuck with that. So when you do the research, no, it is not that easy. Even one statement you cannot write um, immediately. So you'll be stuck in various points, and இது எடுப்போம் அந்த வேரியபிள் இதுக்கு சூட் ஆகாது. You will be reading, going through all the thesis, what is the e-sources, so where is the library. You will be asking so many friends for the information. So that is the difficulty, that is the sufferings. Then you'll know how to connect various points and bring out a picture. So when you bring out the picture, when you bring out the, if you understand the thing, some wisdom you will have. So then you will enjoy that happiness. But now I think that researchers, some researchers they are sincerely doing the reports, but most of the researchers, so they miss this happiness, I think so. So just அதை போட்டுட்டா டைப் பண்ணிட்டா கிராமருக்கு ஒரு ஆப் இருக்கு, இதுக்கு ஒரு ஆப் இருக்கு, அதுக்கு ஒரு ஆப் இருக்கு. ஸோ பழைய your systematic way of analyzing the
Besides the complex thing, make
literature.
the product will be
Hello,
after a
am I
simple
audible?
process. So that's
Am I
why.
audible?
So make the product easily disassemblable and reassemblable.
I'm
Yes,
not
ma'am. Yes.
getting it. It's
What
not
is what
clear.
are the things
The
required for?
other side, no.
So why companies are not making it easily?
So other side, I'm not. Your voice is
This
not clear.
disassembly
Please,
is nothing but opening the product to see the inner features or change the inner features.
sir, can I have some clarity
Restore,
in your voice?
bringing back to the original state. For
Yes,
people not
ma'am.
from engineering background, I'm just saying.
திருமலை
HOD.
ஈஸ்வரின்னு சொல்லி
So
ஒருத்தவங்க கொஸ்டின்
disassembly
கேக்குறாங்க
is
மேம்.
like I want to remove this,
Question
I can do
கேக்குறாங்க
it
சார்.
like this
நீங்க
and
பேசுறது
open it.
புரியுது எனக்கு.
It's
அதனால
called
என்ன
disassembly.
கேக்குறாங்கன்னே
Because
voice
it is like
கேட்கல.
putting back and closing it. It's called
Voice
disassembly.
வந்து
Your
கொர
product
கொரன்னு
has that
இருந்துச்சு.
functional.
Some disturbance is there.
ஓகே
Can
ஓகே
you
மேம். யூ கண்டினியூ மேம்.
type the
ஓகே ஓகே.
question?
லாஸ்ட் 5 மினிட்ஸ் கொஸ்டின் டைம் கொடுத்துருங்க மேம். ஓகே மேம்.
So questioning. So உங்க voice கொஞ்சம் பரவாயில்லாம எனக்கு கேக்குது. But அவன் who raised the
லாஸ்ட்
question? I don't know the name of the person. Tirumalishwari, am I right?
எஸ் மேம். எஸ் மேம்.
Madam, your voice is not clear. Can you type the question, ma'am? The chat box. Ma'am, Tirumaleshwari, ma'am.
ஓகே மேம். அங்கே போயிட்டாங்க. யூ கண்டினியூ மேம்.
Shall I continue?
எஸ் மேம். யூ கண்டினியூ மேம். ஓகே. எஸ் மேம். விசிபிள் மேம்.
So,
விசிபிள்.
where I stopped. So, you have Google Forms to collect the data. You have emails. Through emails also you can collect the data. And for AI dimensions, you can use for your systematic analysis of review of literature. Even you can highlight the gap that you have used the AI dimension tool. For example, any tool, any artificial intelligence AI tool, if you are using for your research, you can highlight, you can mention in your research gap or wherever it is possible. You can mention this is the tool I have used for bringing of the gap to identify and rabbit. And so many tools are there. By and also you can buy respondents in some research studies, no. So they are for buying their time. So you can the research, the funding agency itself give some amount for them to administer the questions, the questions among the respondents, because you are buying their time. So you can buy the respondents also. And you can embed the survey in the website. Like some websites, they'll ask for the survey. So you can use that mode of mode also you for collecting the data. And social distribution, using social media to distribute the survey aids in collecting high number of respondents from the people that are aware of the brand. uh, and QR code. So if you buy any product, immediately that particular organization will ask you to give the feedback. Even if you finish a transaction in the bank, immediately and feedback form is coming, and you are asked to fill up that questionnaire. So what is your feedback? If you buy any product in the supermarket, after finishing your purchase, immediately you will be asked to give the feedback. What is the use of all this data? So with the data, they will able to find out, come out with the information, come out with the conclusion that, so how, what is the attrition rate of the customers, or how, what is the preference the customers they are doing, whether they are doing the right service to the customers, where the gap lies, how the customer service can be improved. So, and SMS surveys, even a quick and time effective of conducting survey for a high number of responses using an SMS survey. And QR code. So the question pro QR codes to store the URL for the survey. You can use that URL for and for data collection. So you can print or publish this code in magazines, on signs, business cards, just about any object or medium. And Question Pro app is there. So this also allows to allow the researcher to circulate the questions quickly and the respondents to be collected both online and offline. And API integration, you can use the API integration and other Question Pro platform for potential respondents to take out the survey. And one-to-one interviews. So for example, so your spiritual intelligence, for example, spiritual intelligence among the corporate um, gurus or uh, spiritual gurus. So how you will very minimum gurus are there, only 5 or 10 you have identified. So you cannot bring a 5 or 10 gurus in one place and you cannot collect the questionnaire, isn't it? So you can have you have to visit their places, sit with them, and for example, church bishop or the higher end, the Rome Catholic, that for example, that particular guru, you are conducting the interview. It must be a face to face interview. For example, you are collecting data from politician perception, from your chief minister or your prime minister. It must be face to face interview. So an interview can prepare, you can prepare a list of important questions and with already asked a survey questions. So with this interview questions, so while dealing with the high top authorities and all, you must be very careful in designing your questionnaire and sitting with the interview should bring out the exhaustive details of the topic under discussion. So it must be very intelligently, very cleverly. You have to prepare the questionnaire. Then only your conclusion, whether it is an um, uh, customer question, the end user customer question, or it is a top authority, you must be very careful designing the question. Then only you can bring out the original information, what is happening really in the field. So what changes you can bring out. You must be sincere and your efforts must be very sincere in preparing the question. And online or telephonic interviews. This online through online interviews also you can collect the quantitative data through telephonic interviews or example Skype or Zoom and then this platforms, no Zoom platforms you can bring out the interviews and sometimes other computer assisted personal interview techniques also there for collecting the interviews. So coming to the independent and dependent variable. So what is independent variable? As I already stated, some demographic variables are independent because you cannot change. On um, some studies, some of the variables will act as the independent variable. The same variable will be acting as dependent variable in another studies. So stress. Uh, impact the performance, for example. Here, stress is the independent variable, isn't it? So, wow, in another study, some the problems of stress, then stress becomes the dependent variable. So, the same name that nomenclature particular variable can act as an independent variable in one study and act as a dependent variable in another study. You cannot standardize it. But demographic variable, always it is an independent variable, you cannot change it. So the independent variable is manipulated and has the freedom to take on different values. This variable can take on different because it's the impact of the independent variable. However, these values are said to be depend on the value of the independent variables. Discrete variables. So discrete variables are nothing but a characteristic that describes the some physical or mental aspect of the individual group or inanimate object that has been observed. The term discrete describes how the variable is measured. So examples are described from the list above are gender, mental state, number of errors, and the automobile brand. So am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
Yes, Professor, you may
Okay.
audible, Professor. Please continue your teaching.
Okay. So continuous variable, you might have seen the discrete data, continuous data. A characteristics that describes in statistics, the data will be a discrete data continuously. So the range போட்டு நம்ம measure பண்ணுவோம் இல்லைங்களா? The height range, students ஓட mark 50 to 30, 40 to 50. So a characteristic that describes some physical or mental aspects of the individual that has been observed. The term continuous describe how the variable is measured. So continuous variables vary by taking any one of the large number of measures. So examples of continuous variables from the list above are weight, speed, and how high one can jump. Category. Natural group of K is a discrete variable. Grouping of characters. Characteristics is a discrete variable. So think of type of automobile as a variable having categories such as Porsche, Ferrari, and Maserati. The automobile processing Porsche characteristics is counted or placed in the category title Porsche. So parametric and non-parametric data. So parametric data, it has to fulfill the normal curve. Non-parametric data are in distribution. For example, on a paper, for example, if you are correcting, you are undertaking evaluation, correcting papers. If we have corrected papers rightly for a group of students, definitely your mark distribution will follow the normal distribution curve. If you are not, if you have done some mistakes, definitely it won't follow the normal distribution curve. So the distribution will be, some will be below average and some will be in average and some will be excellent. So there are various categories of students. So ranks, scores, or categories or generally are non-parametric data. Measurements that come from a population that is normally can be usually treated as parametric data. So based on the type of data you are collected, so you can go for a parametric test or non-parametric test. So the tests that depend on the assumption that about the distribution of the underlying population data, the or parametric, because they assume the data being tested come from the normally distributed populations. And test for significance of correlation involves Pearson product moment correlation involves similar assumptions. And the tests that do not depend on many assumptions about the underlying distributions of the data are called non-parametric tests. And these include the Wilcoxon sign crank test, Mann-Whitney test, and so many tests are emerged. இன்னைக்கே நிறைய பேர் வரும்போது இன்னைக்கு பாத்தீங்கன்னா நம்மளே ஸ்டாட்டிஸ்டிக்ஸ் படிக்கும் போது மாதிரி நிறைய அட்வான்ஸ்
இன்னைக்கு கிளாஸ்க்கு வந்தோமா எல்லாரும் இதையே பார்க்க ஆரம்பிச்சாங்க. என்ன எனக்கு அது எப்படி இருக்குன்ட்டு முன்னாடி இருக்குன்ட்டு டீப் பண்ணி சொல்றா எங்க கால் வந்து ரத்தம் வருதுன்ட்டு ரத்தமே வரல, கால் வந்து இப்ப ரத்தம் வர மாதிரி தான் இருந்துச்சு. ரத்தம் சொல்றா.
What is it? Hello?
Yes, so continue, ma'am. Continue, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
These include the Wilcoxon sign rank test, Mann-Whitney test, and so many tests now it is available. Lot of நம்மளுக்கு எத்தனை வகையான ஏஐ டூல்ஸ் இருக்கு ரிசர்ச் அனாலிசிஸ்க்கு, எத்தனை வகையான டெஸ்ட் இருக்கு. So it is growing like that. Okay. Or you look for difference of correlations. You know what is correlation. So between two variables, if you are able to connect what is the pattern of behavior between the two type of variables, how it is connected. So if you want to say the how depth it is connected, then the degree of connection, if you want to say, then you have to go for regression. but how it is connected. The base connectivity, if you can bring, you can use the correlation based. So you can look for difference whenever you have two sets of data. Does paracetamol lower the temperature? Does the number of exercise performed affect the amount of increase in muscle strength or not? So actually the data, the base, the analysis of data, you can use it, cross-tabulation methods. So cross-tabulation method is the most widely used quantitative data analysis method, and it is a preferred method since it uses a basic tabular form to draw inference between two different data sets in a research study. So it also contains data that is mutually exclusive or have some connection with each other. And trend analysis. So you know very well trend analysis to project the data for the future. So how the pattern will be there. So for example, business, the 5 years. So what is the performance of the business? What is the financial performance? So in 2020, what will happen? In 2030, what will happen? So our climate variations. So 2024, this much rain we have avoided. And summer, this is the temperature. And 20 after 10 years or 5 years. So what will be the projections? You can project it use very easily by using the trend analysis. So it does have the ability to look at quantitative data that has been collected over a long period of time. So the data analysis method helps collect feedback about the data changes over time, and also it aims to understand the change in variables considering one variable remains unchanged. And another analysis method is max diff analysis. It is also quantitative data analysis method, and it is used to gauge the customer preference for a purchase and what parameters rank higher than the other in the process. What the how the customer is preferring various um, the the characteristics of that particular product. And conjoint analysis. So it is also like quantitative data analysis method, and it also analyzes the parameter behind a purchasing decision. So this possesses the ability to collect and analyze the advanced metric which provide an in-depth understanding or insight into the purchasing decision, as well as the parameter that rank the most important. And turf analysis. This is otherwise called as total unduplicated reach and basic frequency analysis. So this is a quantitative data analysis methodology which assesses the total market reach of a product or service or mix of the both. Actually, this method used by the organization to understand the frequency and the avenues that with the messaging reaches the customers and the prospective customers, which helps them tweak their go-to market strategies. So correlation. So how the two variables are connected, you can easily find out. So structuring your data for you by using the SPSS. So you can SPSS expect to put each case on a row, isn't it? One row will have all the details of one case, one subject. So usually this means that each research subject will have a row to themselves. So the categorical variables are best represented by numbers, even if they are not ordered categories. So they can be ascribed a text label using the variable label option. So the variable name, excuse me, that appears at the top of the column is the data sheet. One is data sheet, another one is variable sheet. Limited in length and characters will hold. The variable label can hold a more meaningful descriptions of the variable and will be used on the output. You will fill it out. So you know how to label the data, everything, how to enter the data in an SPSS. So all those instructions you will have very well in the website itself. You can download any book. So many books, number of books are available freely. You can download and you can use it. If you have two group of subjects, each subject will have a row for that itself. However, you will need to dedicate a variable to let the system know which group each subject belongs to. So two independent groups of data, subject 1, 2, 3. For first subject, sway area rider. Second subject, sway area rider. Some data was given. So these data is an example data were gathered as a part of investigation into the effect of horse riding on balance. Whereas a measure of balance or more correctly unbalanced, a small value indicates good balance. So it's a values how they have balanced their rights that horses. So unbalanced correctly, good balance. So the variable called rider discriminates between riders and non-riders. So it can be referred to as discriminatory variable. So the grouping of data into two types, that is riders 1 and 0. So discriminatory analysis you might have heard, and 0 they are non-riders. The second column, rider column. So 0 mentions they are not riders, and 1 mentions they are the riders. Grouping the data. So this is Likert scale, entering the Likert scale. So what is the order you should tackle your data in? So gather the data and code the data. Coding has to be done for the analysis, and conducting a descriptive analysis and box plots or other graphs. So all that you have to some frequency analysis, or you can draw to give representation what is happening to for your understanding for clarity. You cannot fill all the reports with box plots and other graphs like our project students are doing. So check data for now. Then it is have to you have to check for reliability and validity. That will give you the norm whether it followed a well-shaped curve or not. That is the checking normality of the data. Then the data is the normal. The data is normally distributed. Then you can use for parametric test. Otherwise, non-parametric analysis. Then both is connected with whether p-value is the effect if significant or not. Zero or one answer later. And draw conclusion. So this is how you order and tackle the data. So entering and saving the data, measures of sender tendency. So actually descriptive statistics, inferential statistics you can use. So descriptive statistics, average, median, mode, standard deviation, variance, range, quartiles and percentiles. So the first thing is you will find the average for the data. So the average will not give any information, just it will guide you. So what is the maximum values, minimum values, how your data lie between the maximum and minimum. So that is the guidance you can get from the average, but not much information. If you go for a median, so the middle item of series, so that can be arranged in ascending or descending order according to the magnitude. And mode, so how many times the values is getting, what are the values getting repeated most of the times, it is easily find out by the mode. And standard deviation, so which gives with the measures of dispersion from its mean learner how it is deviated, that the dispersion have occurred. And variance, it quantifies the spread of data points. So it shares it quantifies the value it gives, the range, the difference between the maximum and minimum values, quartiles. So quartiles divide data into 4 equal parts. The percentiles, data points between a certain value. And skewness, it measures the symmetry and asymmetry of the distribution, how your normal distribution curve have skewed. எப்படி ஷேப்ல போகுது அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு சொல்லலாம். அது வரை டேட்டா வந்து எப்படி டிஸ்ட்ரிபியூட் ஆகிட்டு சொல்லலாம். Kurtosis measure the peakness of the data, sharp peakness or flat, showing how much data is concentrated on the tiles. So compared to the center, it means if the draw pattern varudana, the peak if it is concentrated, it will have a short peak. Otherwise, it is lies flat. Exploring the data. So it is very used by using this SPSS. So click on the analyze data menu, the descriptors, then explore. The dependent variable we are looking communication skill, for example, the dependent list, selecting it, transferring it over with the digital arrowhead button. And if you use that as SPSS, you will be know this is the instruction you have to follow for exploring the data. If you click the OK button, then you will get the output window. And this command is great way of clicking feel for the data. It does to generate a lot of output you will get. You can explore the data very well. So please try when you go home. If you already have used Explore, what is that? SPSS, then no problem. For example, new one, if you're a researcher, you're doing our PhD, then this thing will be very useful. So click on Analyze menu, the descriptives, then Explore. Then the dialog will appear first. It should have some terminology. Then the dependent variable, independent variable column வரும். அப்புறம் இங்க இருந்து அங்க தூக்கி போடணும் இதெல்லாம் சொல்றாங்க. But for I have to show that how SPSS is working. If I have shown the screen, then it will be very useful. Shall I continue with the SPSS or shall I go to the next one? Is audience, are you listening?
Next one, ma'am. Next one.
So what is the use of this diagrammatic representation? Some analysis, not our analysis if you have. So it is very the researcher or any, for example, for any business or top authorities, if they go through the data, it's very, they have to spend some time in understanding. But the diagrammatic representation, if it is any data is represented in diagrammatic representation, so they're very easy to understand the data, what is the pattern of the data. So these are very basic analysis, a bar graph. So this will encourage the thinking in a proportional way by drawing a graph. So it make easy to visualize the relationship between the two categories for the single variable origin. Histogram, we know very well. So this is a continuous variable. Discrete data ko நம்ம போடுவோம் அது தனித்தனியா தெரியும். So we might use to build a graph, a histogram to see what the data look like. So this histogram could provide evidence to whether the data provides the normal distribution or not. Such graph, so the continuous data could also discover extreme values, outliers. எங்கெங்கெல்லாம் இருக்கு. So how the data have deviated from the normal ones. So you can identify very easily. That should be dealt with before additional statistical analysis. So basic in the graph எல்லாம் பார்த்துட்டு next higher end analysis க்கு நம்ம போயிடலாம். The scatter plot. So நிறைய plot type of graphs. So their scatter plots are there. So you can use them for your analysis. So with two variables, we need to display the bivariate relationship. So how the two variables are connected. So a scatter plot type graph will ensure the graph maker to display the relationship between the x-axis, y-axis, all those things you can easily bring up. So you can access, see these are the examples of the some graphs. How many individuals are in 5 different credit card categories? What proportion individuals are in 5 credit graph? See, this is the example. Credit card debt in thousands, level of educations. Some college degree. So they ranked high. See, so they which of the 5 categories of credit card types is most popular? Rank the popularity of 5 credit from the least to the one. Box plots. So these box plots, no, this is using the interquartile range and the bar in the box and shows the medians. These box plots are clearly labeled with the units of measure displayed. So the box plot dialog also tell us we are going to create a box plot representing the summary for group of cases. This is our 2 groups or young and mature students, all those things. So interpretation, median, box, whiskers, outliers, skewness, and comparison can be shown in the interpretation. These are scatter plots. Look for, you can use it for correlation. So these are paired data. So before and after experiment data, you can use for the scatter plots. Line graphs we have. So showing the changes in the variable as alters. So this is all about the data creations, how we have to collect the data, how to use the data for analysis. So I have shared with you. my with my little knowledge. So I think I have justified something for this topic. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Any questions? Any questions, audience? Audience, am I audible?
Yeah, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Any questions?
No question, ma'am. No question, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So with your permission,
Thank you.
shall I leave? No, thank you, sir. Venkata sir, HOD sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay.
Um, thank you, ma'am, Dr. L. Kanagalakshmi, ma'am, for that incredible thought-provoking session. We now have a better understanding of fundamentals of data collection in research, and I am sure it will help us in career journey. As we near the end of this faculty development program, now I call upon Mr. J. Ishwaran, Assistant Professor, PG Department of Commerce, to deliver vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, all. I am Ishwaran, Assistant Professor of Department of Commerce, and it's my pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks for the today's session. Let me first of all start by giving glory to Almighty God for making today's session as an a resource resounding success. First and foremost, I thank our founder and chairman, the Reverend Father Dr. J.E. Arul Raj, our beloved administrator, Reverend Sister Dr. M. Baby, our dynamic principal, Dr. R. Ruben. I would like to extend our deepest gratitude to our esteemed resource person, Dr. L. Kanagalakshmi, ma'am, whose expertise has made this event a grand success. Thank you, ma'am. My heartfelt thanks to the head of the various departments and the faculty for their valuable contribution towards this FDP program. I want to thank each and everyone for your active participation and the commitment towards your professional development. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all for your valuable presence throughout this FTP. Thank you all for attending this. Kindly fill the feedback attendance form. Once again, thank you all. Have a great day. See you in the next event. Thank you all.